The Rambam in Hilchot Deot, in Aristotelian fashion, defines virtue as the mean, the shvil hazahav, the golden path, the center point between two vices, one at its excess and one at its deficiency. For every noble character trait, we aspire to be moderates. There are, however, two character traits for which the Rambam says we must not be moderates, but we must be ethical extremists. One is humility, and we learn this from none other than Moshe Rabbeinu. Va'ish Moshe anav ma'od mikol ha'adam asher al pnei adama. At the end of the Parashat Bahalotcha, the Torah teaches that the man Moshe was more humble than any other person on the face of the earth. So much so that we aspire to be like Moshe when it comes to humility. And so Rabbi Levitas in Perek Dalet of Pirkei Avos teaches Ma'od ma'od have shefal ruach, that we should be very, very lowly of spirit, that we should be meek, that we should be humble, that we should have a humility of integrity. Yoked to the midah of anavut is the midah of ka'as, is the characteristic and the trait and the behavior of anger. When it comes to anger, as it also teaches in Pirkei Avot, al ti noach lichos, we shouldn't be easily provoked to anger. And we learn this from Moshe as well. But this time, not as the positive lesson of Moshe's Anava, but as a negative lesson that comes from this week's Parsha, Parashat Chukat. Per the Rambam, Moshe's sin in striking the rock twice rather than speaking to it was that he succumbed to the provocation of the children of Israel's complaints, that he succumbed to his anger. The Rambam teaches in Hilchot Deot Perek Bet Halacha Gimel, taking his cue from the Gemara in Psachim Daf Samach Vav Amud Bet, that anger and humility are two virtues that are really on the same spectrum. The Rambam there in Hilchot Deot quotes Reish Lakish in the Gemara in Psachim that I mentioned. Shekol hakoes, whoever gets angry. Im chachamhu, if that person is wise, chochmato mistaleket mimenu, their wisdom will depart from them. The im navihu, and if they are a prophet, nivuato mistaleket mimenu, their prophecy will depart from them. With this in mind, we can proceed to the Rambam's interpretation of Moshe and Aaron's sin in striking the rock at Mei Meribah, and why they are punished with the loss of their leadership, which seems disproportionate to a relatively minor incident, one would think, in the long history of Bnei Israel's wanderings in the Midbar. If you remember, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe bel Aaron, God speaks in the aftermath of this event to Moshe and Aaron and says, Ya'an lo emantem bi, because you did not have faith in me, lahakdisheni, to sanctify me, le'enei bnei Israel, in the eyes of the children of Israel, lachein, therefore, lo taviu et hakal hazeh el haaretz asher natati lehem, you will not bring this community to the land that I have given them. Why such a harsh punishment? The Rambam in Shmona Prakim, his Hakdama to Pirkei Avot in Perek Dalet, explains that the sin of Moshe in striking the rock, right, and the text attests to this because he hit it twice, which is an indication of a loss of control, of getting angry. The Rambam says that the sin of Moshe was simply that he departed from the moral mean of patience to the extreme of wrath, in that he said, Shimuna Hamorim, hear ye, O rebels. He misrepresented God, indicating to the people that God was angry with them, even though they were only thirsty. It was a legitimate complaint. They needed water for their survival, let alone the comfort of their families, the comfort of themselves. Moshe waxed wrathful. He got angry. His passions were in control of him. And as the Rambam writes in Hilchot Deot, if one is a chacham, they lose their wisdom. If one is a prophet, they lose their prophecy. Now, it would stand to reason that Moshe could regain his chokhmah. He could regain his nibuah, as he certainly does, once he settles down. The Rambam, therefore, leaves us with a very powerful lesson. The Rambam says in yet another place that we could all aspire to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. We could all aspire to moral excellence. But even Moshe Rabbeinu, the most humble man on the planet, the man who had Nebuah, who had Chachmah, who spoke to Hashem panim al panim, even Moshe was vulnerable to losing his patience and waxing wrathful, of departing from the ethical extreme of humility and allowing his passions to direct his thoughts and his actions. We all should aspire to moral excellence. Most of the time, that means that we need to be centrist, the Shvil HaZahav. When it comes to patience and humility, it also means that we have to be ethical extremists, that we aspire to virtue and moral character, to walk in the ways of God, and to be the best that we can be in our Jewish lives. Shabbat Shalom, and all good wishes.